Maternal inheritance of mitochondrial DNA. Mitochondrial DNA is inherited through the mother. It is not transferred through the father. Mother can pass it to all the children, but father cannot pass it to any of the children. In case of mitochondrial DNA, more than one copies of the mitochondrial DNA is transferred. The mutation rate on the mitochondrial DNA is common, and more than one types of the genome of the mitochondrial DNA is passed to the next generations through the mothers. This is the pattern of inheritance of mitochondrial DNA through the mother. If we do the comparison between the nuclear DNA and the mitochondrial DNA, in case of nuclear DNA, all the ancestors, they transfer their DNA to the individual. Here we can see that this is a cross. This cross has transferred the DNA to this individual. Then there is again cross between these two individuals, and they transfer the DNA into this individual. There is another cross between them or marriage, and they transfer the DNA to this individual. So in case of nuclear DNA, that is inherited from all the ancestors of that individual. But in case of mitochondrial DNA is transferred from the mothers. This mother has transferred the DNA to this mother or her daughter. So this mother has transferred the DNA to her daughter, and this daughter has transferred the DNA to her son. So there is a difference between the transfer of the DNA in case of nuclear DNA, which is present within the nucleus. All the ancestors, they transfer their DNA from one generation to another generation. While in case of mitochondrial DNA, it is just transferred by the mothers. So we can say that there is a single lineage in case of mitochondrial DNA. Here is the pattern that how mitochondrial DNA is transferred from the mothers to the children. So here we can say that this is the egg which is produced in the females. This is the sperm which are produced in the male. In case of eggs, the mitochondria is present within the cell, or it is present within the cell or within the egg of the female. While on the other hand, in case of sperms, mitochondria is present at the tail of the sperm. So when sperm fertilizes with the egg, it just transfer its nuclear DNA, N for nuclear DNA into the egg, and it do not transfer the mitochondrial DNA into the fertilized egg. So this is the process that how DNA is transferred. The nuclear DNA which is present at the tip of the sperm, that is transferred into the egg, while the mitochondrial DNA which is present at the tail will not transfer into the egg. So that is the reason that mitochondrial DNA inheritance is just from the mothers. From one female it transfer to the next female. Properties of mitochondrial inheritance. There are some properties which are related to the mitochondrial inheritance. Those properties, they are heteroplasmy, which is usually seen in case of mitochondrial inheritance. Variable expression is also a phenomena which is related to the mitochondrial inheritance. Pleiotropy, reduced penetrance, and functional mosaic. These are all properties which are related to the mitochondrial inheritance. So this is the diagram of the mitochondrial DNA which is present in the human cells. This DNA consists of this is circular in nature. It consists of two strands. One is called as heavy strand and second one is called as light strand. There are approximately 37 genes which are present on the mitochondrial DNA. There are many diseases which are due to the mutation in the genes which are present on the mitochondrial DNA. So this is the pattern how diseases are inherited through the mitochondria. Here we can see that this is the egg, sperm fertilizes it and it becomes 2n. So this is 2n. So this 2n has a distribution among the individuals which get birth to the female. So there is a possibility that in some cells there is no affected or the mitochondria that has mutation. So this is a mitochondria that has the mutation for particular disease, and we see that in this individual no mutated form has been transferred. So there is loss of mutation. So within these two individuals there can be a single cell. Here we can see single cell, and here we can see two copies of the mitochondria. If there are few copies of the mitochondrial DNA, the individuals would be asymptomatic, while in those individuals that have multiple copies of the mitochondria that have a mutation, so those individuals would be symptomatic. So we can say that as a result of maternal inheritance of mitochondria, some of the individuals they have no disease, some of the individuals they have moderate symptoms of the disease, and some of the individuals they would have severe disease. Here we can see the difference between the severity due to the mitochondria. So this individual, this mother, has an abnormal mitochondria. There is a mutation on the mitochondria, and she has 4 children. So children 1, 2, 3 and 4. If we do the comparison between them, the child with no symptoms, child with minimum disease, child with mild disease, child with severe disease. So it depends on the copies of the mitochondria. If an individual inherit no copy or less copy number of the mitochondria, it is possible the individual would not develop the symptoms of the disease. But on the other hand, if there is a child who inherit a maximum copies of the mitochondrial DNA and there is a mutation in a particular gene, that individual would have with severe disease. So we can say that in case of mitochondrial inheritance, there is a variation in the phenotype expression. Some of the most common mitochondrial diseases which have been seen in case of humans, they are myoclonic epilepsy, mitochondrial recessive ataxia, Leber hereditary optic neuropathy, and sensory ataxia neuropathy. So these are some of the common diseases which are due to the mitochondria or the mutation in the genes which are present on the mitochondrial DNA.